And sticking with CNN, specifically Smirkanish on CNN, hosted by Michael Smirkanish, where I came across this segment, and I want to show you this chyron so you can see with your own eyes that this actually happened in December of 2023 after everything we know to be true about Donald Trump. This is Michael Smirkanish hosting an almost 8-minute long segment with, "Is Trump actually moderate?" in the chyron. Yeah, it happened. Is he a moderate? For this segment, Smirkanish hosted the author of a recent New York Times op-ed, Matthew Schmidt. If you haven't heard of him, he is the founder and editor of an online magazine called Compact. I hadn't heard of him either, but before introducing him in this segment, they flashed up a copy of the cover of his magazine where you can see titles of articles like "The Liberal Plot Against Democracy" and an article written by Peter Hitchens, the conservative brother of the deceased Christopher Hitchens. So we're getting an idea of who this guy is, but it really comes into focus when we see this op-ed that he wrote with the title, "The Secret of Trump's Appeal Isn't Authoritarianism." Now, in it, he argues, and I want to quote, "Mr. Trump enjoys enduring support because he is perceived by many voters, often with good reason, as a pragmatic, if unpredictable, kind of moderate." Ah, yes. Pragmatic and moderate. Two words I definitely think of when I hear the name Donald Trump. Listen, if Donald Trump is a moderate, then I am Margot Robbie. If we're out here living in fantasy land, let's really go for it, right? But the fantasy continues in that this Matthew Schmidt argues something we've heard ad nauseum at this point, that we need to delineate between Trump's rhetoric, which is often extreme, and his actual governance, which, according to Schmitz, is moderate. We need to look at his actions, he says, not just his rhetoric. And he takes us through several specific examples to make this point, but I want to focus on abortion. And let's actually hear the excerpts on abortion from this op-ed that Michael Smirkanish chose to highlight for this segment.
With regard to the abortion question, he writes this: though he championed the overturning of Roe v. Wade and has charged Democrats with supporting laws that make it legal to rip the baby out of the womb, quote unquote, in the 9th month of pregnancy, he has also broken with abortion opponents. After Mr. DeSantis signed Florida's ban on abortions after 6 weeks, Trump called the move a terrible mistake. By criticizing both late-term abortions and the most comprehensive restrictions on access, Trump has managed to reflect the muddled views held by much of the electorate.
Don't you just love when one of the most prominent news networks uses their precious few minutes to misinform their audience? As though Donald Trump's inconsistent messaging on abortion is anything other than proof of his lack of principles. If we pay attention to Donald Trump's rhetoric, we know it is extreme, but we also know his actions on abortion are extreme. And briefly, let's just go back to March 2016, when then presidential candidate Trump sat for a town hall with Chris Matthews. And during this town hall, Trump made it clear that he wanted to appoint conservative justices to the Supreme Court to ban abortion. He makes it clear what the consequences of those bans would be, and also says that women would need to be punished for their abortions.
I am pro-life, yes.
What is ban? How do you ban abortion? How do you actually do it?
Well, you know, you'll go back to a position like they had where people will perhaps go to illegal places.
Yeah.
But you have to ban it.
Do you believe believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
10 cents, 10 years,
I don't
what?
know. That I don't know.
Well, why not?
I don't know.
You take positions and everything else.
I do take positions and everything else. It's a very complicated position.
I'm asking, you're running for president, I'm not.
So I love that clip because it illustrates so much of what we know to be true about Donald Trump. The answer to the question is, as he thinks about what his base wants to hear, and apparently in the moment he decided the wrong answer, because hours after that he had to walk back that statement about punishing women who have abortions. Because again, he has no principles other than what is politically expedient. But if we take Matthew Schmidt and his argument that Trump is only radical in his speech but not in his action, how does he explain the fact that Trump has always been set on banning abortion in this country, intent on appointing the conservative justices he wanted to appoint, who he knew would overturn Roe v. Wade, which has now caused widespread chaos, pain, and confusion in this country? Donald Trump knew the consequences of it. You just heard it. Abortion would be inaccessible. He said people would try to get illegal abortions. He didn't give details. He didn't elaborate on what that would mean. But we now know what it means when abortion is banned. Because of his extreme actions on abortion, not just his rhetoric, the recent case of Kate Cox in Texas, we know women are prevented from obtaining abortions in their state, even after being admitted to emergency care 4 times. The Texas Supreme Court ruled that she wasn't ill enough to justify an abortion to save her life, making it clear that these exceptions for the life of the mother are nothing but lies. Because of Donald Trump's extreme actions, beyond his rhetoric, OBGYNs are now fleeing red states, where they fear prosecution or lawsuits for doing their jobs, causing maternity care wards to close and the number of maternal healthcare deserts to grow. Because of Donald Trump, babies are born and suffocate for 99 minutes until they die, while their parents watch in agony, unable to do anything because they were prevented from obtaining an abortion, as is the case with baby Milo in Florida. And I can't even cover the number of stories that have been done on people who were forced to have babies that they can't care for now because they get little to no assistance from the state. Is this moderate? Is any of this pragmatic and moderate? Is all of this what Matthew Schmidt meant when he argued that, quote, Trump has managed to reflect the muddled views held by much of the electorate? He thinks the electorate is confused about what they're seeing when it comes to abortion bans? They're not. 1 year after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, a PBS NewsHour NPR Marist poll found 61% of U.S. adults say they support abortion rights, which was a 6 percentage point increase over the previous year. And the number, it may vary from poll to poll, and Americans may disagree on the certain number of weeks that they may support an abortion. But the reality is the majority of Americans support abortion rights. And we see time and time again in the recent elections in Ohio, in Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, when abortion rights are on the ballot, when candidates center the issue of abortion, Democrats win. And part of it is stories like that of Kate Cox, who I just talked about earlier. Data for Progress recently conducted a poll about her specific situation, and they found 83% of voters believe a woman in her situation should be allowed to have an abortion. The electorate does not have muddled views on abortion, especially now that they're seeing what abortion bans do. So I guess the question here is, will the media continue, even after everything Donald Trump has done? Will they continue trying to convince us that he is a moderate who won't be as bad as everyone thinks when he's proved time and time again that he is exactly as bad as everyone knows he is? I guess so. This really illustrates how important independent media is, because it seems like these big news networks are prepared to mess it up yet again. And I can hear it now. The Alex Jones drop about the bonus show.
Oh, the bonus show. You want to make money. Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
The bonus show. And by the way, we have a great bonus show planned for you with my I Doubt It podcast co-host, Jesse Dollemore. But it is important that we support independent media, because we need better than Michael Smerconish in 2024. What do you think? Be sure to let me know in the comments.
One of our sponsors today is Manscaped. They make excellent products. You've got the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This is Manscaped's 5th generation body trimmer and groin trimmer. You've got 2 next-gen blade heads, your standard trimmer blade for taking off a little bit of hair, the foil blade for taking off a bunch of hair. All of Manscaped's devices are waterproof and perfect for the shower. You'll also want to pick up Manscaped's Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Deodorant. Whether you're shopping for yourself, maybe there's a guy in your life, Manscaped offers the perfect bundle with everything. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra includes the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Groin Trimmer, the Weed Whacker 2.0 Ear and Nose Trimmer, Manscaped's liquid formulations, and 2 free gifts, Manscaped's Boxers 2.0 premium underwear with moisture wicking technology, and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag. I have all of this stuff at home. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code PACMAN at manscaped.com. The link is down below.